Hello everyone, and welcome to some more RPG horror story cringe with DnD Doge. In today's episode, we have a tale about a dungeon master that allows that guy to metagame and become annoying to the rest of the players. A story about a player that figures out how to cheat dice rolls on Roll20, and much more. But before we get into that, Nipsey would like to show off his stealth skills. I'd say he rolled a nat 20 on stealth there. But with that impressive feat of sneakiness done, let's get right into these stories. DM lets another player metagame by Reddit user Eve of Langauer. I think it falls under metagaming anyway. Since day one of the players in our campaign decided that he's quote-unquote against our party. Which, okay, fine. It's a very small group of just 3 of us and the DM. It would make more sense for us to play cooperatively, but it's what he wants to do. My character has very low health. It's a homebrew that the DM helped me to make, made for ranged combat and just having fun with my character. And we can't really do anything to stop the other character from being with our group in game. He doesn't actively attack us unless there's loot that he wants. And then he just threatens to KO me unless my character gives over the loot. That sucks, but the part that makes the game unplayable is that the player refuses to only use his character's knowledge. For example, if I successfully notice that there was a note left by an enemy, but sneakily go back for it later, his character will later threaten me to give him the note. If I say, there's no way for your character to even know I have it, he just asks to roll for checks and then continues his action of threatening me for it. But his character wouldn't just randomly think, "Hey, I wonder if that character has a note on them." And I hate that he can't separate what he heard as a player versus what his character actually knows. I'm gonna have to quit this campaign, even though I like the DM and the other player. It's just not fun with this guy in it. And the DM won't separate him or even tell him that he can't roll the checks, or anything. Edit. I have brought it up with the DM, and they basically shrug it off, like they haven't actually attacked anyone, or everyone can play the game how they want, and I made them roll a skill check. That's why I'm just going to be leaving at this point. Edit 2. Since this blew up a little bit, I've talked to the other player as well. He doesn't see himself as evil aligned, just self-aligned. And yes, he used the classic, "This is what my character would do." While the various ideas for how to deal with it in-game made me laugh, and I'd probably do it if this happened with a different group, like just range kill him, be extra sneaky, pass notes to the DM, get the rest of the group together and trap him, have an intervention, and steal all of his stuff. As I said, I'm just going to be leaving. It's just 3 players, and the other guy isn't having fun either, but he doesn't want to stand up to the DM or the other player, and I don't want this campaign to feel like a battle against an in-real-life person. And if we killed him, we're down to just 2 players, so I'm just leaving. Yeah, at a point, OP is just left with the old adage of no D&D being better than bad D&D. So it would just be best to leave. OP did everything that he could to try and fix the situation, but even after talking to the DM and the player, it just seems like that there was nothing that could be done. That player is annoying, sure, but this boils down to the DM allowing this stuff to happen as well. And it sounds like they are the type to think that they can do no wrong. Hopefully, OP can find a better game to play in soon. Let's move on. Kicked My First Players by Reddit user Spoonius. I DM'd a pretty good session today, except for one thing. I had to kick 2 of my players. They were just overall being disrespectful, both to me and the other players. They were a couple. One invited the other and was very insistent on it, so I asked the group and they said that they were alright with it, as long as they didn't spend the whole time talking to each other. They spent the whole time talking to each other. They had no idea what was going on, and it wasn't me. The other players understood the stuff I was putting out. About midway through the session, they started going to the bathroom and did who knows what in it. This also happened during the climactic boss fight, so I had to skip their turns. I'm just pissed because I spent a lot of time crafting up the boss, giving him some nice dialogue for the players, and he was also my first painted miniature on the table, so it was sort of special for me. Then I see those two, too invested in each other to be invested in the story. Having the talk with them was hard, as one part of the couple was a part of our friend group, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. The other players breathed a sigh of relief too. They were all expecting this outcome too when they let the dude's girlfriend come into the group. She was new to D&D and wanted to play it, but honestly, I think she only wanted to join because her significant other was playing with us. Anyways, that's my rant. I just wanted to get this off my chest. Yeah, that sucks. I agree with OP that the boyfriend probably really wanted to play, but had a girlfriend that just despised the idea of him doing anything without her, especially considering that the other players had a feeling that that would happen. At least OP didn't wait long to see these issues, however, and just decide that the game would be better off without those players in it. Though I will say that perhaps talking to them first may have worked out, and they would have stopped. But in the end, it's the DM's call. Let's move on. How I found out that you can cheat rolls on Roll20.net by Reddit user VoidTreeMC. I usually play in paid games, and I'm fortunate that I can afford to. DMs do a lot of work and have to pay lots of subscription fees. I also find that you get fewer twerps if everyone has to ante up $15 for a game. So why was I playing in a free game? The paid game I was supposed to play in got cancelled due to not enough players, so the DM decided to run a freebie that evening. I rolled up and put on my headphones, and I'm not paying that much attention. It's a one-shot, and it's free. I'm mostly looking at it as an opportunity to get to know DM before the campaign has enough people. The next guy to join rolls up a barbarian and sets up a constant stream of chatter, and he says something that catches my drifting attention. I know it looks like I only have number of hours on Roll20, but I had this other account that had 1,700 hours, but the password got changed or something. First of all, who the heck cares how many hours you have on Roll20? I'm sure that at least half of my hours, if not more, are from leaving myself logged in between sessions. What kind of person makes a "mine is bigger than yours" flex like that? I wonder. My instinct to F with the F'ers kicks in, and I said, "Do you still have the email address that you used to register the account?" And he says yes. I explain that he could recover his password, but he mumbles something about letting bygones be bygones. I messaged the DM privately, saying that he probably lost his other account for reasons, while assuring the DM that I didn't think that this was important, and it wouldn't stop me from playing with the guy. Who knows, people can change. That dude quickly proves to be loud and abrasive, talking over people, kind of like the guy who makes your friend group keep all the party invitations a deadly secret, in case he finds out and shows up with a case of cheap beer and an attitude. He's playing a barbarian, but you get the feeling that no actual roleplay is involved. I messaged the DM. I bet he made a new account because nobody will play with him anymore. And we laughed. Eventually, the party manages to leave town and heads out to slay the monsters. Combat starts, and Barbarian Dude is rolling crit after crit. Nothing he rolls comes up less than a 19. Sure, he has plus 10 on many things, but is quickly starting to feel fishy. Though I probably wouldn't have noticed if it weren't for that earlier flex. I will put on my retired IT person hat here. No software system exists that is completely free of exploit opportunities. I didn't doubt that a way to cheese rolls existed. I just needed to find out if it was well known enough that that dude could find out about it and simple enough that even his tiny brain could pull it off. I quickly start web searching between turns, and found a few things. The most detailed post was about 5 years old, but the exploit described seemed to involve a design flaw significant enough that Roll20 would need to put considerable time and effort to fix it, which typically means that they don't. It's cheaper to ban people when they get caught. The key observation is that while all the rolls are handled by a Roll20 server using the noise off a laser beam for randoms, the roll is reported through the client. That means that anyone with access to the client, i.e. a player, can cheese it by rolling repeatedly until they get a result that they like, and only then passing it on to the game. To pull this off, the cheating player needs some trivial software, and they have to stall. That dude was a world champion staller. The DM would ask him to roll, and he would spend the next 90 seconds muttering, in some cases carrying on an obviously fake conversation with a person or dog in the background. I explained to the DM what was probably going on, telling him to watch out for that dude stalling. Then 2 things happen. One is that the DM starts having things happen to that dude that don't require rolls. The dude pulls off the athletics check, and, because riding a hostile flying mob is fraught with challenges, still falls 50 feet. That dude can half the damage on saving throws, but it's adding up. Also, I say, "Wow, you're rolling really well. How do you do that?" That dude stopped rolling really well, and then started sulking. The dragon won, and that dude disconnected from Discord abruptly, instead of hanging out for a few last words with the rest of us. I had so much fun that I didn't mind dying to a dragon. The DM messaged me afterwards telling me that I won the Psychic Award, that he'd played another free one-shot with that dude a few days ago, and hadn't been impressed, but had decided to give him another chance because sometimes people really do struggle with interpersonal stuff. Much respect to the DM for this. That dude had said that he wouldn't be playing in the paid campaign because he worked that evening, but mysteriously became available when a free game came up. If someone is a twerp, they will be a twerp about everything. They will lie and cheat, and they won't just cheat on one roll that really matters, something that I wouldn't have noticed. They will cheat on every roll because they think that being awesome in combat is a way to make friends and dominate people. So, now you know about cheesing rolls on Roll20. Use this power only for good. Edit. I've talked to a couple of friends about this, and none of us can get why it would be fun to cheese rolls. Half the good drama in a tabletop RPG is role-playing the bad rolls. I have to agree with OP at the end there. Sometimes it's super fun to play out the bad rolls. And heck, sometimes a bad roll can lead to pivotal events in the narrative that changes things drastically. Hell, in one game I played in a few years back, there was a girl in the party that would use a rolling app on her phone instead of using the Roll20 client, and then would just send pictures of the roll on Discord. But somehow, she would roll 3 natural 20s in every battle. So, needless to say, I didn't stay in that campaign very long. But that wasn't the only reason. I may have to share that nightmare of a story someday, and believe me, it's a doozy. But I digress. A cheater will find a way to cheat at anything, but at least it sounds like OP and DM won't have to worry about this one, since this cheater is cheap as well. On to the next one. Second ever session, Someone Raped an Elf, by Reddit user, Just a Comic Geek. So, I've been holding on to this story for a while, because I don't have many friends who play D&D. I've been wanting to jump into D&D for a long time, but never knew the right people, or knew people who were too late into their campaign to add another player. Though, when I started uni, I finally started. The first session went well, but I was a little rocky since it was my first time. I decided to keep going because I was getting to know the other players really well, and I liked playing Magic with them. The second session is when it gets bad. Our party came across a group of elves who got high on something. They offered it to our party, and only our wizard said yes. a player in our party decided to take the leader of the elves, who was high, into a bush and have sex with him. She and the DM came up with a scenario that he thought he was having sex with his wife at home, but was actually too high to even speak, and having sex in a bush with a woman he just met. After the scene played out, I pointed out that she basically took advantage of a guy who didn't have the capability of giving consent, and then the mood dropped. They looked at me as if I had just said something horrible, and couldn't figure out why I had a problem with what happened. After a few moments of awkward silence, they changed it to an illusion spell or something. After this, we fell out of contact with each other, and only one of us out of the 6-player group even attends that uni now, and I haven't spoken to any of them since. So yeah, second ever experience didn't go so well, but hey, it didn't stop me from continuing with a different party with people I'm really comfortable with. Yeah, I can see how that got a bit awkward. It reminds me of the time that I rewatched Revenge of the Nerds recently, since it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And then that scene showed up, and I'm sure some of you know what scene I'm referring to. And yeah, that didn't age well at all. This is another reason why session zeros are so important for a game. That way, stuff like this doesn't show up if a player isn't fully comfortable with it. Thankfully, it does sound like OP did eventually find another group and has kept on playing. Let's move on. Chaotic annoying player aggroes his party, cheats, and then leaves the game. By Reddit user, Odandy. Basically, we're playing the Golden Keys Adventures, where your party are a group of thieves obtaining certain objects, people, etc. And one specific player, Warlock, was a nuisance who ruined our GM's session. Warlock described his character as being here for the chaos, which I immediately noted as being the antithesis of a heist game, where careful planning and preventing chaos is the whole point. It should also be noted that Warlock spends half of the session on mute in Discord, and we're constantly asking him stuff, and he doesn't reply. When he does reply, it's always to slight a party member, mainly me because I'm the most vocal. This ranges from me pretending to be Warlock's lawyer and Warlock interjecting that, "No, that's my doctor," completely ruining the ruse that we were pulling, to just being dismissive of everyone's plans, even though he's contributing exactly 0 to this group. At one point, I gave him gold to buy food since his character was exhausted from hunger. He didn't ask for it, but the DM said that he was starving, and I willingly gave it with no hesitation. So, naturally, Warlock pockets the gold, and Mage Hand steals a loaf of bread, and walks out of the diner we were in. Holy crap, man, who hurt you? After multiple plans of mine he ruined by interjecting and doing the "my character" thing, he eventually goes on mute for a long time with no response back. He leaves the call in Roll20 out of nowhere and says, "I have to go, bye guys," which wouldn't be a problem if he hadn't done all the crap I listed above. I then decided to take a look at his character sheet, and surprise, he was cheating as well. He gave himself armor that he wasn't supposed to have, including 101 gold coins, when everyone started out with 15 or less. I immediately messaged the DM about the cheating and his behavior, which he agreed was a problem. He's gonna talk to him soon, but honestly, I just want him out. Or I'm out. Yeah, that sounds like that will get old very fast. Though, I would hold out a bit and give the DM a chance to talk to this player before giving the DM an ultimatum. Who knows, perhaps that player will realize how much of a nuisance he was after a stern talking to, and the game turns out to be a blast afterwards. Though, if that behavior continues, hopefully the DM would decide to boot him, and you wouldn't have to leave. Though, what do you all think? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. But that is all the time we have for today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and may your games remain horror story free. Until next time.